Hi, welcome to WarHQ. My name is Lucius, and today we'll be looking at Demons in Kill Team. Now, Demons in Kill Team were introduced in a White Dwarf. It was July 2019 this year, and since that time, they've harbored mixed results from players, from your reviewers, and today I wanted to clear a few of those up. I wanted to talk about the usual things I talk about with these reviews, where I go into the role of Demons in Kill Team. I'll also go into their individual strengths, their weaknesses, the tactics that they employ, the units, and then just sort of recap, how you could go about getting into Demons if you're interested as a kill team. I myself have played in a competition in Australia with Demons and placed equal first with that on points. And I've got to tell you that I think they're extremely strong. But without further ado, let's get into the episode. Okay, let's start by looking at the roles of the Demon Kill Team in competitive play and in normal play. And what I mean by roles is what makes this kill team stand out from others. Like, what is its main, what is the main thing that it can do in a battle or kill team? First thing that stands out is this is a close combat team. Won't beat around the bush on this. It's close combat all over. You have two very strong close combat units, being the Bloodletter and the Demonette. Now, the Bloodletter with its Hellblade, which we'll talk about soon, is an excellent choice for marine equivalents for anything that's strong. Anything that needs to be taken out, larger models, these things can do a lot of damage, and they're very nasty. On the flip side of that is the Demonette, which is faster. It has more attacks. The attacks don't do as much damage, but with their Quicksilver Lightning quickness, what they can do is they can attack in the charge round, even if they didn't charge, which makes them very strong. So these are your main two close combat units, and these ones you sort of alternate depending on who you're coming up against. You could do a mix of both, but I think it would be stronger. If you're fighting Astartes, for example, I'd be taking Bloodletters. If you're fighting Orcs, I'd probably more leaning towards Demonettes. And it varies on what you really want to achieve, I guess, and to fit that competitive edge with the Demons. Which leads me to the second strength of this team, and the second strength of this team is objective holding. Okay, now this is a very durable kill team. Not so much the Bloodletters and Demonettes; they're quite brittle. But on the other side of the token, the other two units are what really pull this up, and that is the Plague Bearers and especially the Pink Horrors. Now, I'll go into a lot more of this in this episode, but just a brief summary is the Pink Horrors are just amazing. These things can split into multiple other units. So they split into Blue Horrors, those Blue Horrors split into Brimstones. So holding objectives with Pink Horrors is very easy in a 4-turn game, where you basically double how many models you've got on there if the Pink Horror dies. Couple that with the ability of its shooting with its coruscating flames and the ability to psychic Cybolt. Pink Horrors are amazing objective holders. The second amazing objective holder is the Plague Bearer. Now, the Plague Bearer is a toughness 4 model. It has its invulnerabilities like the rest of the team, but it also has Disgustingly Resilient, which gives it another, for any wound it takes, it gets to take another roll of 5/6 to try and save. So it's got 2 saving throws, and it also has special abilities which enable it to be harder to hit and obscured as well, for CP, obviously. This makes the Plague Bearer quite a hard model to get off objectives as well. So if you can imagine this team, and this is going to take me to its third role, which is the Horde. It is a Horde team. It's a large kill team. All the base models are cheap, 7 points being the average all around. Pink Horrors going up to 12. Leaders and specialists are only 1 extra point than the base model. So you're going to have a very big kill team. You're talking from 10 to 14 sort of models in a kill team, which enables you to be able to get board control, enables you again to help with these objectives. It enables you to swarm the enemy, enables you to take losses when you need to, and take lots of losses if you have to. And you will be taking losses. particularly with your bloodletters and your demonettes, which are quite brittle to high volume shooting. So keep these things in mind. These, in my mind, are the main three roles of the demon kill team itself. But overall, like I play this team a lot. It is one of my favorites. It's definitely one of my top 5 teams that I play. I have played it competitively. I have a lot of experience with it. So this is a team close to my heart, and we're going to go into the rest of this episode talking a little bit more about it. Now let's have a look at the strengths of the demon kill team itself. The first thing that really stands out to me is the insane elite killing power of the Hellblade weapon. And let me say that again, the insane elite killing power of the Hellblade weapon. Now, those of you that don't know what a Hellblade is, it's the standard weapon of the Bloodletter or the Blood Reaper models. Now, this is a 7-point model, so very cheap. But this Hellblade has a strength of user, which is 4. It has a -3 AP, and it has a base of 1 damage. Now, this 1 damage can go up to 2 damage if you roll a 6 on your wound. And then also, with the special ability, tactical ability that is, of Cleaving Blow, you can add an additional damage to this weapon. So let's just recap that a little bit here, okay? That gives you a damage potential of 3 with a -3 AP on a 7-point model. Now, having played this team competitively, people are really surprised when you pull this on them, and you just obliterate, like a warrior tyrannid or something within 1 turn with a single 7-point model. It totally freaks them out. Now, the good thing about this too is the ability to hoard these things at such cheap points. You can have so many of these with so many good weapons. Now, let's have a look at this Hellblade itself again. So when it's being used on this Bloodletters only have a base attack of 1, but they're basically all zealots. So what that means is they get a +1 to strength, a +1 to attacks on a charge. So with a combat specialist and with your natural ferocity zealot bonus that all Bloodletters receive, you're having about 3 attacks a turn, right? 4 if you're a Blood Reaper. So you could imagine what sort of damage this can do on some some elite kill team that you're facing across the board. You can absolutely wipe it apart, and it's really brutal because one of the lists I ran at the tournament I was recently in, I took an alternative list which had 14 Bloodletters. Well, one of them was a Blood Reaper, and it's just a swarm of this death with Hellblades. I feel like these Blood Reapers and Bloodletters are being a little bit overlooked by people, and I'm listing this as a really solid strength. Another major thing that you need to consider with this kill team is Pink Horrors, and they get their Cybolt ability. Now, there's not many kill teams at the moment that have the Cybolt, but those that have played with Cybolt and those that play against it know just how devastating the Cybolt can be. You basically, on a 5+ success roll, you're doing a more free mortal wound to an enemy model that's closest to one of the Pink Horrors, or Blue or Brimstone in this matter, because they can all use it. Now, you only get one of these a turn for free, basically. But if you take the Pink Horror Icon Bearer, on a roll of a 6, you can pull off a second Cybolt each turn. So that puts you on almost Grey Knight equivalent there. So I have used these. I did take an Icon Bearer in the recent tournament I was in, but didn't end up using it. I just went for numbers a lot of the time, just for objectives and stuff. And that seemed to work pretty well for me. But it's a solid option, and it's there. So Cybolt, massive strength. Next thing I'll say is, and this is another one that really shocks opponents, is Pink Horrors, man. Like, they are so good. 12-point base model. It splits multiple times. So your Pink Horror turns into 2 Blue Horrors. Now, those Blue Horrors each turn into a pair of Brimstone Horrors on the board. So this is really good on the board, but obviously when you want to have pink horrors in your kill team, like me, just having 5 pinks on the board, you need to have 25 models. So you need to have 5 pink horrors, 10 blue horrors, and 10 brimstone horrors, just to have 5 pink horrors on the board. But good thing is with these that once the pinks are lost, that counts towards your losses, right? But the blues, the brimstones don't count anything towards your losses. They don't mean anything, basically. They can all use Cybolt. They do lose their ability for coruscating flames that the pink horror has, which is a bit of a shame. I think that would have made them a bit stronger, but I mean, they're already strong enough. And why I've listed this as a strength of splitting ability is pink horrors are near impossible in a 4-point game to totally clear off an objective. And the good thing is, you put your pink horror on an objective, it gets shot or it gets killed, and then it turns into 2 other models. And then those models each turn into another model. So putting 1 model on the thing, on the objective, it getting killed doesn't mean anything. Like you laugh, it doesn't matter. And it's a really cool thing to do. Watch the horror of your opponent, as they realize their impending doom, or losing points, probably the best way to say that. So this ability to hold objectives is just next level with pink horrors. Now, another strength that I'm going to list here is invulnerability saves. I mean, who doesn't like invulnerability saves? And this is across the board. You know what I mean? Every single model in this kill team is invulnerable. So the best model is the pink horror to 4+, and then the blue steps down to 5+, the brimstone steps down to 6. Now, the other 3 models, being the plague bearer, the bloodletter, and the demonettes, are all 5+. Which again is really good. And remember, the plague bearers also have the disgusting and the resilient role as well. So they're kind of like Death Guard in that respect, and they get that extra 5+ for all wounds. So they've got 2 saving throws, which is amazing. In my experience, I kind of really love the invulnerability thing. I mean, some of the players I played in the tournament recently were taking high AP damage weapons, and like halfway through the game, they realized that it was just completely useless to take a high AP damage, a high AP weapon, against the demon kill team, because AP just means nothing when you don't have armor and you have an invulnerability save. So I list this as a strength because you can't drop below this. So I mean, you could get shot at by a Tower Rail Rifle, -4 AP, and just you're going to the same chance of surviving, as if you're getting shot at with a Grot Blast or something. You know what I mean? So keep these things in mind. Like it does make them very strong, particularly since all the models are cheap in this kill team again. Now, each of the demons has its own unique icon as well, which I'm going to list as a strength because it's not a lot of the other kill teams have this ability, and I think it's quite powerful. You know what I mean? I've already talked about the Zench one with the pink horrors, which basically allows you to have another Cybolt on a roll of 6 each turn, which is fantastic. The Nurgle one, basically, you can subtract from leadership characteristic of enemy models within 6 of it, which is pretty good, if you're going to foul saves. The icon of Khorne, I really like this one with the bloodletters, lets you re-roll for charge rolls if they're within 6 of the icon bearer, which is great. Like, I use this one quite a lot. I think it's really good for the points. Icon of Slaanesh, you can roll a wound roll of 6+, whilst you're within 6 of enemy models equipped with the icon of Slaanesh. That attack inflicts 1 mortal wound in addition to normal damage. Not bad, right? Pretty powerful. So these icons, as I said before, are something that most other kill teams don't have. Each of the demons has a horn blower as well, some sort of musician, and that usually increases movement and does a couple of other little bonuses for them, which again, really handy, especially in a team with not a lot of diversity of choice. You know what I mean? Like, I've only really got 4 primary units with some variations, within those. So this is what I would deem the strengths of the demon kill team. Okay, now let's have a look at the weaknesses of the demon kill team. And look, they have a couple. The main one that really sticks out to me is that they are incredibly vulnerable to high volume shooting. And what I mean by that, and I talked in the strengths about the vulnerabilities, AP doesn't matter, and all this stuff. But what does matter as a demon kill team player is if your opponent is doing a lot of attacks, like high volume attacks, and particularly high volume accurate attacks, you can very quickly lose models. Most of them are toughness 3, except for the Plague Bearer. So they're not particularly tough, and then those saving throws are either 4+ with a pink or 5+ for everything else. When I've been using these, I find that anything with over 2 or 3 attacks always gets 1 through at least. Like there's only so many you can save with invulnerabilities unless you just fluke it. You know what I mean? So you've got to be very, very careful about high volume fire, and being someone who wants to fight a demon team, that is what you should be putting into your list. You should be putting down any shooting weapons. They don't need to be they don't need to have AP, they just need volume of fire. If you want to beat demons, that's the way to do it. It's just complete volume of fire. Also, like everything else, it's not really a weakness, but if the enemy can get the charge on you before you can get them, then that's a big bonus in that as well. So just be careful of that brittleness. I did mention before that the Plague Bearer does get the disgustingly resilient, so he is a little bit tougher to kill without firing, which makes them ideal for holding objectives as well, just like the pink horrors. They're pretty tough, they can hold in there. So on the shooting subject, that brings me to the next weakness of the demon kill team, and they virtually have no shooting of their own. Now, the only thing that can shoot within the entire team is the pink horror, and the pink horror has coruscating flames, and it's not particularly strong attack. It's assault 2. It's strength user, so that's only a 3 in this case, and no AP at all. So it's just a straight up attack. You can increase this with tactics, and I will go into that. You can use mutating fire, which is a 1-point tactic, which brings the AP to -3, which does make it quite useful. But keep in mind too that you've still got that strength 3, which isn't great. If you're fighting anything with a toughness 4, it's going to be hard to win them. Upon saying that though, Demolition Specialist is a pretty good option for a pink horror as well. If you want to use the coruscating flames and you want to use that mutating fire special ability, then I do recommend the Demolition Specialist, because most things are going to be in cover. You're going to get that +1 to wound. It's going to make you a little bit, make the kills come a little bit easier with it. On saying that though, these, they're not bad. Like I have got a few kills with them before, but I wouldn't rely on them per se. Now, having no shooting means that your only option is to get into close combat, and as I've already discussed, this is a close combat kill team, like at its heart. Even the coruscating flames only have an 18-inch range in themselves, so it's not something you're sitting back and just waiting. This is a get in your face, kill, crush face kind of kill team. You don't want to be sitting back on the laurels thinking, oh yeah, I'll just sit back here and hide and cover. Nah, you're going to get obliterated, especially against a really good shooting or high volume shooting kill team opponent. They're going to take you apart. So make sure it's all about movement, it's all about charges, it's all about getting in there, it's all about position, it's all about cover. Use all those things and you're in a pretty good spot to negate this weakness. So that concludes the weaknesses. Okay, let's have a look at the units that are available to a demon kill team. Now, this isn't going to be that extensive because there's really only 4 units that you can use. That being the Bloodlet, the Demonette, the Horrors, and the Plague Bearer. But a general note that I'll say on these is that one thing you need to remember is that you can get a comm specialist by any Hornblower or Icon Bearer out of all 4 of those units. So if you need a comm specialist, not really sure why, it can be helpful to have one with a pink. horror. It's not a bad thing for your coruscating flame, especially if you're going to back it up with that tactical ability to give it -3 AP. Could be an option. Can't say I use them a lot with a comm specialist. But anyway, let's go through them as they are. So the Bloodletter. The Bloodletter, I've talked a little bit about this. I talked about the Hellblade, which I think is the most awesome weapon around for this particular model. Now, the Demon Bloodletters themselves, look, they're not that amazing. They have a strength of 4, so that only stands out, and a good weapon skill of 3. So, you're going to land attacks, you're going to damage people, and then obviously with that Hellblade, you're going to kill them with the tactics that I've mentioned previously. You've got the Icon Bearer, you've got the Hornblower. So I've already told you with this one that the Icon Bearer allows rerolls of charges, models within 6, very handy. Employ that Bloodletter Icon Bearer in the middle of your group, and keep him in amongst the main guys. Then come turn 2, you can really push that free rerolls on charges home, and really make the most use of this guy. And it's worth it for the points, I think. It really is. The Instrument of Khorne gives you an additional 1 to advance and charge rolls for any family Bloodletters within 6. Obviously, you had both these models there. You're going to be doing some really good charge rolls in turn 2 or advances on turn 1. So keep those in mind. Blood Reaper, nothing to really write home about here, just has an extra attack. That's pretty much it. Another thing to mention is all demons have a 7 leadership, regardless if they're leaders or if they're not. They've all just got a 7 leadership. So Bloodletter is really your mainstay close combat unit. So moving on to the Demonettes, it's another close combat unit. Now this one has more volume of attacks, and what the main thing that stands out for this one with me is its ability of Quicksilver Swiftness. Now, a model with this ability can be chosen to fight in the Hammer of Wrath section of the fight phase, even if they have not charged in this battle round. So, say you win, you might have won initiative, but you didn't get any charges off this turn. All the Demonettes got charged. Now, what this means is that you'll be able to fight in the charge phase, even though you didn't charge, which is really strong, like really powerful. So keep that in mind, because this can get you out of a lot of situations. Like being able to attack in that is very strong. Like you attack first, like anything. 5 up invul on this model, like I've already told you. Everything's pretty much 3 across the boards with 2 attacks. Nothing to really write home about the model. The one standout feature of it is the 7 base movement. So this one's very quick. We had a little bit of a talk about the Icon of Slaanesh that you can take with us, which is powerful. So wound rolls of 6 that are made within 6 inch of the friendly model with this can do a mortal wound in addition to normal damage, which is really strong. Keep this thing right up in close combat, supporting your main guys, and it's pretty good. Now, not a lot of specialist options for the Demonette or the Bloodletter, but the 2 that obviously stand out are Combat for the +1 attack and Veteran. So you can do those advanced moves at the start, like alternate where I put these depending on the composition of the kill teams I use with demons. The instrument just adds 1 to charge rolls and advances, just like most of them do. Again, handy. I mean, you get some really big movements with these Demonettes. A Veteran Demonette in particular is really good. You make it in the Luris, which is the commander model of it, which gives it a base already of 3 attacks, and then make it a Veteran. Put it near the Icon. You can do some huge advances, which is super important. Now, as far as the Demonette's weapons themselves go, they have piercing claws. So use a strength 3, which is a little bit weak, and -1 AP, which isn't bad. But each time you make a wound roll of 6 for this weapon, 6+, which is handy to note, that hit is resolved with an AP of -4 instead of -1. So wounds of 6s, AP -4, goodbye Marine power armor. So, not a bad option. They do have slightly more attacks than the Bloodletters, but the Bloodletters definitely have the better weapons. I generally lean towards the Bloodletters just because they can destroy stuff, but I think if you're going to fight more of a horde team with like low armor and stuff like that, low toughness sort of kill team, say you're fighting, the Demonettes I think would be a better option there for the volume of attacks. Just like when you fight demons, which are a horde army with low toughness and easy to kill. Same applies here with Demonettes. I would probably take them over the Bloodletters in that situation of, say, fighting orcs or something with like a boy army or something which has no saves basically. That might be the option that I'd take them in. Now your horrors, I have talked about these a little bit already, but I'll touch on it just briefly again. So I've already told you how the horrors split. Now their stats are nothing to write home about. They're pretty average. I mean, Bloodletters, Demonettes have like 3+ weapon skills. Horrors have 4+, so they're not very good, and that's ballistic skill as well. So they're pretty average at shooting and fighting. Base move of 6, strength 3, toughness 3, wounds 1, attacks 1. So they're not amazing, but that's the amazing thing about them is their ability for psionic powers. So you get your Cybolt each turn. 2, as I said before, if you have the icon of Zench, then you roll a 6 that turn with your icon bearer, you get another Cybolt, which is amazing. Now the pinks do have coruscating flames, so I've already described that weapon. And its abilities, it's quite weak unless you boost it and bolster it. Now that's not what you take pink horrors for, though. You know what I mean? Like psychic powers, yeah. Shooting, not really. Combat ability, not really. Yeah, these things are for holding objectives. They were born for this role, and they're quite scary to want to get close on as well if you're an enemy player, because you know that you can pull out a free Cybolt when you need it. So, and that happens before. Like, say you got your pink horror and objective, someone charges you, you're going to get to pull that Cybolt off before they can resolve their combat. So that's a risk, and a lot of people would say you're fighting Eldari or something with like 1 wound models and that, they might not want to, risk one of their best close combat, models to a Cybolt straight up against a pink horror like that. Yeah, they could die before you even get there. So it's this ability to, die and multiply the amount of models that you have on an objective and hold it, and thus win the primary objectives or secondaries if that's what you're doing. That make pink horrors one of the most amazing models there is, I think, and unique. I mean, there's nothing else that does that in Kill Team yet, and I don't think you can overlook that. I have looked. I did say before the Demolition Specialist is one of my favourites for these. Now, just remember, if you fail your invulnerability save with a pink horror, you just pop into the next horror. There's no flesh wound. Okay, that doesn't exist with horrors. So you fail your 4-up invuln with a pink horror against damage, that's it, it's gone. Yeah, and it turns into 2 blues and down the line like that. So just keep that in mind. You're not going to be walking around with flesh wounds. You're not going to be able to say that once it's gone, it's gone. That's it. So that is one thing about the splitting, which you need to know. So in that instance, I don't normally make them leaders. I don't think it's a good option for leader, just because it can pop, and die that easily, I guess. Even though it goes into something else, you lose that leader ability. So as soon as the pink dies, so just keep that in mind when you're using them. Veteran Specialist, another really good one. I have used this a few times, just to get a horror into the position I want to be able to then attack in that first round, like with a Cybolt at the right target. Another tactic which is really powerful is to just put one of these in reserve, like put a horror in reserve, a Demolition Specialist, and then turn 1, sort of recon drop them into the back line or near an enemy target that you want to take out turn 1. So enemies sitting there and they're like, oh, I've got my 1 wound leader and I'm going to hide him at the back. They advance their team or something, drop that horror in 5 of them, Cybolt the hell out of them, maybe get a free kill. If you don't, then you still got your coruscating flames to back you up as well. So you can headshot leaders quite easy by putting a pink horror in reserve, and I do recommend that. As we've said about the icon, know that, but the instrument also adds 1 to advance and charge rolls enemies with friends within 6 inches, just like the other models. The last unit that you have available to you is the Plague Bearer. Now, Plague Bearer is probably the one that I use the least. It is the one that I recommend, and I have heard other commentators on YouTube recommend this as a leader model, and it's for a good reason. And that's because it is very durable. As I've talked to you before, it's disgustingly resilient, has its invulnerability save. You have a special ability which makes it harder to hit if it's obscured. So all of these things make the Plague Bearer a good choice for your leader. Fighting wise, nothing to really write home about. They're not great at all. No AP on their weapons. It's user strength, which is 4, which is not too bad. And you can re-roll win rolls of 1 with this, and they're single damage weapon. So probably the worst of the close combat troops here. They do have a strength 4, toughness 4, which does make them more durable, but these things are more of a tank. They're not really used for attacking much. And with a lower weapon skill to a 4 than the Demonette and the Bloodletter, they're not an obvious choice for close combat. So having a look over these units now, they're all very cheap. Like all of the base models for Bloodletters, Plague Bearers, Demonettes is all 7 points. 8 points for any of the specials. So what I mean by that is the Icon Bearers, the Horn Blowers, or the Leaders are all 8 points, which is really cheap, like for what you're getting with these models. The Horrors are the only thing that vary, and that is 12 points for the base Pink Horror, which goes up to 13 for all the special ones, and Leader. Keep that in mind, but you can get quite large kill teams with this force. It's definitely a horde. Yeah, it's definitely a swarming team. It's not really an elite faction. The only real elite thing you could do with this is to make a whole team of horrors, I guess, with your leader equivalents of all the others, but it's still not what you probably class as an elite team, because everything's still going to be fairly cheap in comparison to a lot of the other factions that are available. And that is the units of the Demon Kill Team. Now, let's take a look at the tactics that a Demon Kill Team can use. And by tactics, as per usual, I mean those abilities that the team benefits from that can be used with command points within the game. Now, this one's quite easy for Demons because since it was a White Dwarf release only, it's not a major faction, it only has 6 tactics. So we may as well go through them, and I'll tell you the ones that I've used, the ones that I recommend. The first one, it sounds really good. It's called Reality Blinks. Basically, 3 command points, real steep. Don't know what they were thinking with this one. On a 4+, you can ignore, injury roll and be restored back to 1 wound. Sounds great. It's kind of like the Astartes one, but 3 command points. I've never had that many command points left to be able to use it, so I'm going to class that one as fairly useless, unless you've got the points and you really need to save someone's life. But the models are cheap enough, so generally losing one isn't the worst thing in the world. One that I do use a lot, and I really rave on about, I've talked a little bit about, is the Cleaving Blow. This is the one with the Bloodletters. Basically 1 CP on one of your Bloodletters, and their damage goes up by 1. So that puts their normal damage to 2, but potentially 3 if they roll a 6 on wound. So it makes their Hellblades super awesome. So I definitely recommend that one. Another one quickly that I talked about before was the Mutating Fire. So this, the Coruscating Flames that the Pink Horrors can do, this just gives it a -3 AP and makes it sort of useful, because it's kind of crap otherwise, for 1 CP, which is pretty good. Another one I have looked into is the Warp Spawn Terror. 2 command points. This one's pretty handy, maybe in turn 4 or something. You're sort of needing to break the enemy. So you can use it at the start of the morale phase, add 1 to the nerve test models that are within 3 of any Chaos Demons in your kill team. So, it's pretty good. As I said, it's something you probably use turn 3 or 4 when the enemy is on the brink of, breaking, has a lot of flesh wound models, etc. Pretty handy. The Demonettes have one called Deadly Dance. Now, before you make a charge roll for a Demonette model within your kill team, roll 3d6 and pick which 2 rolls to use when determining this model's charge distance in the battle run. So 1 command point, fairly handy. Don't use it a lot. I've got to say with that one, I don't find it as strong as the other ones, but it's not too bad. The last one we have is the pestilential aura. I hope I said that right. Use this at the start of the battle round. Pick one plague bearer model from the kill team. If this model is obscured, attacks that target this model suffer an additional -1 modifier to hit for the rest of the battle round. So that's pretty cool. Not bad at all. It's kind of like the Orc Commando, or one of the scouts with a camo cloak or something like that. So one command point, you really got to hold this objective. Like, there is no other thing you can do but hold this objective. You're going to lose the game. Definitely recommend this one. Your invulnerability, you're disgustingly resilient. Shit, let's make it harder to hit you as well. That would make it even better, So you can see there a plague bearer in that situation would be really resilient. So this is a look at some of the tactics of the Demon Kill Team. So there we go, the Demon Kill Team. I hope this has given you a little bit of insight into this team. There has, I have heard some negative comments about the Demon Kill Teams. Quite frankly, I'm a little bit surprised with some of the commentators do that. I'm not sure if maybe they just haven't played them, but give them a chance, eh? I think they're very competitive. I think we're going to see more of them within competitive play. As I said, I've already taken one Demon team to the last tournament I went and did very well. There was also another Demon player there, so that was quite encouraging. I didn't get to fight them, unfortunately. I was hoping to play against another Demon team, which I hadn't done. But upon saying that, this is a team which has answers to a lot of people. A lot of different teams this has an answer to. So I think we'll see a lot more of them anyway. I know they're not a main faction. A lot of people were originally a bit disappointed that you couldn't take the demons themselves with Heretic Astartes, which I guess would have made sense. If you're playing Khorne Berserkers, it'd be nice to have some bloodletters. That'd be a bit flavorful. But that's not how they've gone with this. But I do actually quite like this approach they're taking with, you can have mixed demon kill teams. I kind of like it, because kill teams meant to be about, specialists getting together and, performing some sort of brave and daring mission. I can sort of, maybe the forces of chaos get together and, throw some demons in the mix or something. I don't really see them as major specialists, but because it's sort of just a brainless swarm of death. But it does add, I suppose, a little bit to that flavour of that, and I quite like that. I quite like that, the demon thing, Just on a side note, funny story, at the tournament, I think it was like the last turn, we're playing, I was playing against Tyranids, and this player and myself had gone undefeated all day, and we're in the final, so it was him and I in the final. And he'd been trying to kill my leader with all the Tyranid warrior weapons and stuff like that, and all those crazy shenanigans that they can do with meat hooks and those things that they have. And turn 4 comes around, and he rolls three. I think it was three. Yeah, he managed to get through three wounds, and he did 3 damage. Sorry, 3 damage, and he rolled a 666. And I thought, there's no other more metal way to die if you're a demon leader than to get 3 6s on your death roll. So here's to that one. Respect. And that concludes my talk on demons today. I hope you got something from it. As usual, like, comment, subscribe. And this is WarHQ signing off.